Well, welcome to the Learning How to Cut Your Own Hair workshop. I think the first of its kind, too. So you two are part of pioneering a whole new way of doing things. I mean, people are doing their own hair and stuff, but to actually be collecting skills where you can do your own and be doing each other's and actually kind of be knowing what you're doing is really exciting. So I'm Stardust Magic, and I thought I'd start with a little bit of my bio because I know the two of you are here and we're all friends and you know a little of who I am, but maybe not so much about my history and why I might actually be a good person to be teaching you about this. So from the age of 4, I knew I wanted to do hair. I loved to do hair, and any chance I could get, I would play hair salon. And then as I got older, and people would be like, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" And I want to be a hairdresser. Da, da, da. And my whole family and stuff didn't think that was a good idea. They really wanted me to be a doctor or a lawyer, and I had that kind of family. So when I hit 20, I was having like a total meltdown. I could not figure out what to do with my life, and I did a lot of soul searching by pretty much sitting in a room and going, it's really unacceptable to not know what I want to do with my life. Like, surely I must know what I want to do with my life. And I'd really just sit there and just think and think and think and think and think. And then it finally hit me, like, of course I want to do hair. I always wanted to do hair. And people naysaying me pursuing that dream from an early age on made me forget. And so when I remembered, I enrolled in beauty school. So I graduated beauty school in Massachusetts in 1994. I won every single award that school had to offer. I won an award that was a competition among many schools. I can't remember what the award is. It's like you're the best or something like that. And they give you a pair of scissors, like big deal, like a $400 pair of scissors, and you end up in the paper and you get all these certifications and stuff. So this is my big like acknowledgement. Cool. So I won all those awards and basically was sought out by I was living in Boston, and the two major salons in that area was Vidal Sassoon, which you've probably heard of, and John Delaria was their competitor right across the street. John Delaria wanted me. So I had my first job, and so I stepped out. They put me through advanced training, super upscale salon, hoity-toity Newbury Street. My goal was like, I knew I wanted to get into fashion and into photo shoots and like some world I could be really creative and play. Like I wanted to experiment with art. I was only about 20 years old at this time, but I knew that, that's what I wanted to do. Somehow magically, I think about 6 months later, got a 6-page spread on Newbury Street, and pretty awesome for having been the newbie on the street, and also like pretty terrible because there's not a lot of support among my peers having achieved something like that. So not to draw the story out too far, but I basically quit the day that came out. And so my life has been, I'm 38 now, so there's been 18 years of the dance between going into the mainstream and working in the salons, stepping out and going into nature and pioneering my own way. Coming back in, working at a Japanese salon, learning Japanese hair. Okay, cool, got that. Stepping out of that, going back to nature. And so then it's become this dance of like learning things from the industry as I can, offering what I can, and then kind of going like, okay, that's not for me. And during that whole time, I cut my own hair, like I think 4 times, and that's what really drew me to be a hairstylist later on in life too, is every time as a child I was brought to the hair salon, I would be given a haircut that was completely traumatizing. I feel like I'm about to cry. Like, it was not what I wanted, and it made me feel terrible. You know, I'd have like long hair, and then I'd end up with some like terrible, terrible, traumatizing thing. And I actually healed a lot of that child trauma by working in a children's salon for 2 years and making sure that the kids got what they really wanted and giving them a voice and not letting their parents bully them into something. And it was a pretty remarkable experience. A lot of times the parents, they were like, I didn't even know they had an opinion, you know, and like a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old or something. And I would pull out of them with, you know, well, what do you really want? So, okay, so throughout that whole career, I was cutting my own hair, and because I'm always trying to stumble into what's sort of new and cutting edge, or, you know, different, or times in my life, like in LA, I had to have the same look because I was also modeling, and I had to have like this same look. But then playing with different ideas. Okay, cool. So how can I clip things in to look wild when I want to look wild, and then how do I keep this? So basically, I'm at a point now where I have done so much self-hair work that I've done, like I've been able to do long hair even, give myself long layers, obviously do the short and funky stuff and all of that. So are there any questions about, I just wanted to kind of create a color, what my background is in brief. So. Okay. Why people cut hair? I wanted to touch on that. From my experience, and I've had lots of clients and lots of everything, I found people cut their hair for a number of reasons. A lot of times, and what's moved me into what I now consider shamanic hairstylists, and what I find most meaningful is that whether people are conscious of it or not, they're cutting their hair because something's happening. Something's changing, and they're shedding something. So I believe that cutting is like if people aren't a cleanse, sometimes they just go, I'll have people come and be like, I chopped my hair in the mirror because I was cleansing and I need to get rid of that, or which might make sense for what you're up to, or I just broke up with this person and I couldn't wait to go to a hair salon. I just started to start hacking in and stuff. So it can be as like, as that, or sometimes it's simple. Like for me, sometimes I'll just start getting a headache. It's like my hair is feeling like it's not in the right position anymore, you know, and yeah, it's probably attached to emotional things as well, but I'll just start cutting until it feels better. And that's how this kind of wild style actually came about. I cut for feeling and not for look. And of course, integrated fashionable aspects, and that's what I hope to teach you today too, like how to take the scissors into your own hands, how to chop into it, how to be confident with that, how to be conscious of what you're letting go of, and how to have some skills, and also in the passion of chopping, how to keep a vision of what you might want it to look like if you want, you know. Do you have any other ideas on why people, or experiences on why people or you yourselves have cut hair or your hair?
Just like what you said, for feel. You know, I get to when it's growing out and stuff, I start to feel the dryness of the ends, and it just like irks me.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to feel the moisture, you know, in my hair.
Yeah. So I think there's metaphors for all of that. My time in Sedona have really been like, I'm like, whoa, I'm like a hair psychic. Like I can read what's going on with people through their hair. For example, if your hair is dry and frizzled on the end, something, you're burnt out about something in life, and we're going to give you a fresh start. We're going to cut the burnt outness in. Or I find that there's always like once I started really diving into it, and I wasn't realize I was reading people through their hair, you know, but it was something I was exploring through like this sort of shamanic process, like pretty without fail. Once I started becoming really conscious of that, it was always true, you know. Or if the ends were getting heavy and not moving, okay, well, where in your life are things heavy and not moving, you know? Okay, well, how do we free that up? So that's something that you can approach to your own hair, you know, if you're cutting each other's hair. Is everyone here for you to cut your own hair? Or you're also interested in maybe cutting friends' hair? Just so I know which direction.
Cool.
I started cutting my husband's hair because I just started cutting it and never cut hair before, and he jokes around because right now it's like a little bit grown out and you can see where it's all like looking funky, and I don't know, yeah, I do want to play around with cutting, just like our just people, yeah, like our staff and just the close ones, not looking at it's not a money thing, but just I don't know why. Yeah, it's just like
Well, I know why. I mean, I think kind of like you're so focused on cleansing and healing through getting rid of, and that's what cutting is getting rid of old energies as well. I mean, it seems very related.
I've got this infatuation when guys when the guys come over, especially like our workers, and they've got like the big like fuzzy beards. And it's like, let me just trim that. Like, they try to grow the beards, and they're just like kind of like it's all over because they don't really, can't grow a really good beard. They're just like, let me just clean that up.
Okay, awesome. Okay, good. I was hoping that was the case. Okay, well, so talk about what's special about hair. So why might we want to feel those things, and what's special about it, and things that I feel are special about it, and of course you can share if there's other things that come up for you, is that people say that eyes are the windows to the soul. And personally, I really feel that, like when I look into somebody's eyes, I feel like I'm connecting with their soul. And there's even like when I was at Burning Man, I did a soul gazing workshop with my sister, and we just stared into each other's eyes for 10 minutes basically. And then I realized I had never done that before. And so much came up, and a connection was made between us just by doing it. It was so deep. And I'm teary-eyed just remembering it because it was just very moving. So if the eyes are the windows to the soul, what's the frame? If this is the picture, the photo, or the painting, or then the hair, or the hat, or the scarf, or whatever the heck is on our head, is the frame. And I think there's a lot of belief systems that are outdated and need to move. Where typically, like hippies, will let it go. And I think it's a beautiful thing to connect with the nature. And I consider myself a hippie punk, like a fashionable hippie punk. I'm down with the cause, but I think it's important to remember that, it's okay if you're wild from the bush and you're cave woman, cool. But you could also sculpt that, a little bit, or like there can be interplay with it. And I think when we really get that it's a frame to who you really are, that can be really empowering. Or maybe that's just like putting feathers in little places, or whatever. But that it's not like that because of neglect. It's like that because you're choosing that frame. So I think that's really special about hair. Another aspect of it is like I said, sometimes I cut my hair because I get like a headache, and then as I cut my hair, the headache goes away. And it's some interesting relationship I have with my hair. And I think what part of that is, and there's some tribes and cultures that believe this, especially the Rastafarians, and I think the Indian culture, that your hair are antennas. And the Rastafarians grow dreadlocks because, I'm sure there's many reasons, but from what I understand, the dreadlocks are roots into the cosmos, into nature, and into earth and everything. But their dreadlocks are also an antenna and are broadcasting and receiving frequency. Even if they're short dreadlocks.
I woke up one day and it was like, because normally I wear 2 braids, and it was like, I need a 3rd braid. This was like so many years ago. And I was like, I need a 3rd braid. And the voice said, yeah, you need a 3rd antenna. And it's like, okay, so I wore a 3rd braid for a little while and I was done with that. But that was the exact message I got. It was like, okay.
Well, think about it. Where's your brain? And where's your hair growing out of? I mean, they are very close. Like, very close. So, I think that there's this, to think that those energies aren't connected almost seems like to be ignorant. like as when you think of like Einstein or people that are like wildly creative, their hair usually kind of grows out like everywhere. You know, their brains like like a lot of times it can be reflective, and then that's part of like the reading hair thing too, I think. But you can also I wouldn't say manipulate, but like guide. So if that's your antenna, like it's growing out a natural way, but it can also, you can guide, like you were guiding it with braids. Okay, well, all these little antennas, okay, you turn into 3 antennas that are all pulling it in. And, you know, and surely it's like, even if you lightly go like this, you can feel that. You know, everyone just kind of touch their hair for a moment. Like you can feel that at the top, or if you tug something, like you can feel that, like right on your head, you know. So I think that's something really important as well, that they are some kind of antenna, and everyone here is sort of like spiritual and stuff. So we got our aura and the energy moving around the bodies, and I'm sure we all focus on that in different aspects. And I believe like, so say the hair is very neglected in your cave woman. How would the energy be moving around the body, you know? Like, okay, so maybe they're very spiritual and stuff's coming out from the heart and stuff like this. And when it gets to the head, I don't know exactly what it would look like, but it's not doing the same flowy thing. You know, it's moving differently. And say you want to be bushwoman, but you would like to sculpt your you know, maybe you have dreads, but you're like, oh, you know what? I don't need all the little like straggly bits on there, you know, and you can sculpt the dreads. Now you've created an energy flow, like the energy knows how to continue around the head and around the brain, you know, I think. So I believe there's energetic effects as to how we cut our hair. And I experience that personally, and I think that's part of why, even when I've had professional stylists cut my hair and stuff, sometimes that's the shock, like they've done a beautiful thing, but what they've done doesn't actually resonate with who I am. They didn't take the time to figure that out. But I think that's what's actually so shocking is like the energy is moving around my body differently. It's not something I'm comfortable with, you know. If it's not a look that I want, and then it's like, you know, I'm kind of like, I've always had a rocker thing. I've always wanted a PC like wild thing, and that's been a really hard thing to discover how to do because not many stylists actually know how to do that, and that's something I'm going to teach you guys how to do today as well. There's a dramatically different feeling if my hair's cut. Call it a scissor cut, you know, where everything's short, which can be really beautiful, or if I like have shredded hair ends and stuff and how that feels. So I just want you to consider like how the hair feels, or if you're doing other people's hair. Sometimes I'll have clients that come, they don't know what they want. I'll be like, okay, so if we didn't even want to be focusing on the look, how would you want it to feel? Like, what are your mannerisms right now? Some people, their mannerisms are this. Okay, well, maybe instead of brushing your energy to the side all the time, maybe we want to shoot it up to the universe, you know? Maybe it's like sending it back. So there's like different ways you can think about it and different approaches you can get to arriving at what you might want to do for someone or what you might want to do for yourself. And then how that relates to meaning. So I encourage you, even if you're just doing your own hair or whenever you're about to approach hair, like get spiritual with it, you know. You know, you can set some kind of goal or intention, or just start creating an awareness around like what you might be shedding, or what the new look, what you want that new look to give you, what's the empowerment that you're looking. Because I found like, or if you want to light a candle or a thing, like bring some form of ritual and ceremony and prayer to it, because I do that with all my clients, and I found when I start doing that, I'm guided more. Like I know that I can trust my hands. My hands are going to do what they really want and what they really need. And I might not always know what that's going to look or how I'm going to get there, but I know by connecting spiritually and setting that intention spiritually that I'm going to get there. When I started integrating that with my hairstyling, it's been 100% like point on for people. So would anyone like to add anything to anything I've shared so far, or ask anything?
It's exciting. It's a very unique approach. Yeah, I really appreciate hearing this.
Okay, so then I'm going to go over the tools that I like to use. And what I'd recommend is that everyone create a little kit for yourself. You know, like right now, maybe you have a pair of scissors in the medicine cabinet and a comb over there, and but if you're going to be approaching it with like this empowerment spiritual approach, have some kind of container and some kind of special thing. Like this is my travel kit. It's in my car all the time because over time I found people needed emergency cuts. So this is my emergency kit, and it's always in my car. So I have a cute little purse that it's in, something that I can be excited to go to or just see kicking around the car or whatever. So I'd encourage you to find some kind of container where you put all your tools. And if you're doing men's hair, you might be also using buzzers. So, something like I have a whole world set up here. All my buzzers are in that case. And then my professional kit is all my buzzers are in that case and all my scissors and things are in this case. So actually, maybe I'll show you this case. Yours isn't going to look like this probably, but this is like what, I make it look pretty, something that I enjoy coming to. And then actually my comb is over there. What's that? Yeah, just don't drop anything. That kit's like $2 or $3 grand. It's like super pro. Okay, I don't want you guys getting overwhelmed, so maybe I could let you look at that after, Pua. I want to focus on like the staples of your kit because there's a lot of extras in here. And yeah, those are the monster scissors and stuff. I'm trying to be strategic about how I share things with you because it's a lot of information. And if I give you something that's superfluous, then it might become overwhelming in the end for you. So, some things I'd highly recommend you having in your own kit is a good cutting comb. I guess it's personal preference. There's some combs bend, some combs are strong. This one's kind of wet right now. This one, I like a hard comb. It doesn't bend. It doesn't bend much, as my cutting comb. And I like this size because I usually have scissors and the comb in the same hand, which you may or may not do. So a comb, you're going to want a pair of scissors. These are like Rolls-Royce scissors. You could probably just go to Walgreens and pick up a pair if you're just, doing a... But there's usually different blade lengths, so, you got to know what's comfortable for you in your hand, but I'd recommend something at least this long. My first pair of scissors, the ones I won in that contest, are a lot shorter. They're actually my travel kit, so I know when I use them when I'm traveling, then I can compare them to this when I come home, and I actually really prefer this length. Yeah, it's probably about 3 inches. For professional, if you are going to decide you're going to do a lot, like I ended up getting a swivel thumb, so you probably don't need to concern yourself with that. But a lot of hairdressers, like if you move into doing a lot, end up getting carpal tunnel and tendonitis because they're always tweaking their wrists to get angles. And I found a company that has a swivel thumb, so I'll just rotate it in my hand without tweaking which is just really cool.
Yes. Do they have left and right-handed ones?
Yeah. Yep.
Are you left-handed? I am. Oh, okay.
Yeah, be sure you get left-handed one. The other tool I highly recommend you getting in your kit is a razor. And I'm going to show you how to use this today. And this is one of my favorite tools. I use this more than my scissors. So you can look, just don't cut yourself. It's swiveling. I was going to get some for you guys to buy, but I didn't know exactly how many people were coming, and because I'm moving, I didn't want to have any extra anything. So, but I think at the Bashes, there's a beauty supply there. They might have that. If there's Sally's, I haven't done any beauty supply shopping in Arizona because I came with everything. But if there's Sally's, Sally's has good. That's like a $10 item. So it's really inexpensive, and you get extra blades with it. They come in little boxes. Sally's you can also order online, so if you just wanted to get their hair razor. And then you're probably going to want to change razors maybe each time you use it, because even when it just sits around, it dulls every time you use it. And I found sometimes if I've only used it on one person and then I go to use it on a new person, you just have to see. I mean, it might be working fine, but if you're having to like tear into the hair with it, then you're going to want to change out the razors. So they come in a box and they look like this. And I know this is probably a new tool for you. It's actually a new tool for a lot of hairstylists. Like nobody teaches how to use this, and it's actually one of the funnest tools to use, and you can do a lot with it. This is a guard. What somebody didn't tell me in the beginning is you leave this on. This keeps you from slicing your fingers open. So my first experience with this thing was a rite of passage, we can say. So you leave this on. It can move while you're using it. Make sure it's down. If that's showing, that goes into your finger and you end up with a deep cut because this is the razor in here. You see? They sell them straight, and they also sell them where they close up like this, and I prefer this kind, but you need to be aware that it can move. And then when you change out the razor, there's usually a little doodad on here that you're going to push up, and then you're going to pull this razor out. And then I usually pull the edges out like just a tiny bit so I can slip it on with that little protective thing on, because it's really sharp. You could probably do open heart surgery with it. Like, it's very sharp. And then I'll pull that off, and then I'll slip this back on. I'm actually going to put that other one back on because it's new. And if you are going to get one of these and you have trouble finding it, just let me know. I'll help you find one. But you should be able to go to sallys.com too. I bet they have an online presence. Now, if you're right-handed, this guard is always going on the outside. You see, so you're going to use it this way. So if you're left-handed, you're going to move the guard to the other way, so it's on the outside. I'm not left-handed, hold on. Yeah, so like that.
Is that, if we're looking for it in Sally's, is it just called a razor, or it's just
I think it's called a hair razor, and that's why it's really hard to learn about too. It might just say hair razor in it, and there won't be any directions or anything else on the box. It'll probably look like this. It'll just be folded up in a little like plastic package or something like that. Yeah. They make them, I don't know what they have in their inventory. They make them with and without this thing. I'd recommend having this thing because it helps it flip out and it helps you safeguard when you use it. Because I'm going to show you, there's ways where you use it like this. You know, the beautiful thing about this is it's like you're a sculptor, and this is like your sculpting tool. So for example, my whole haircut is done with the razor. So I can come in, you don't even use the comb, like you can just grab pieces for your husband, probably be great, you know, because he likes to wear his hair up and shreddy and kind of rockery, I noticed. So you're going to be able to get that look with this, and you don't need a comb, but you can grab patches of his hair And just, you can use this the other direction, but just be very careful. Like, it's intended to be used like guard side towards the hair. But so this is your sculpting tool. So you're gonna have scissors, you're gonna have that. You're gonna want a brush. At the beginning of my career, when I started traveling, I kept forgetting a brush. And you never know what you're coming across. And it can be a nightmare trimming up someone's hair if you don't have a brush first. Like, surprisingly, a huge nightmare. So I really like these kinds of brushes. This is called a paddle brush. It doesn't have to be rectangular. This is like a really nice, because your hair is very long, isn't it? So this is like, this is a good size brush for your hair. And it can work through pretty much anything. They're pretty common. You could probably pick one up at the store at Bash's, the beauty supply. And you just start from the ends and work your way up. I mean, my hair is very tangly, and see, this is just working the tangles out in a really sweet and nice, friendly manner. So, unless someone has dreaded hair or you're cutting curly hair, you're going to want to brush the hair first. The reason why we use the brush and comb is because you can just cut into the hair, but if you do that after you wash the hair and a week later, maybe you cut a straight line and then you're not going to have a straight line anymore, so hairstylists are very, maybe we could bring this down. Sorry. Their hair is tangly, so the biggest thing with hairstylists is they usually brush and brush and brush and brush and brush. Like, we want all these hairs to lay in a line. Like, if I'm going to do bangs, I'm going to brush the heck out of it. Then I'm probably going to comb the heck out of it, because you're getting all those hairs in a perfect line. So if you're doing a straight cut with scissors, a lot of doing a good haircut is preparation for the cut. Like, so if we're doing a straight cut, if we want to do like an angled cut, same thing. I'm either going to pull all this down and then just start cutting with the scissors at an angle like that. Or there's other tricks where you can comb the hair like all the way over to a side, cut it like that, and then it's going to fall at an angle. But we'll get into that stuff later. So, yeah, those are your tools. And a spray bottle, maybe. You can do dry haircuts and wet haircuts. And it usually depends on the hair, which I decide to do. Like, if there's any wave or curl to the hair, I do it dry. Because you don't know how that hair is going to look when it dries, and how much is going to bounce up. And a lot of people with curly hair, a lot of the traumas they've had in their life, and they've all had hair traumas, is it turning out a lot shorter than they had wanted. And something you're trimming wet, you're like, oh, I only took off an inch, could bounce up to like there, so I don't brush or wet curly hair usually. And bangs, since you're kind of amateurs, you might want to do that dry as well, because that's another one to freak people out. What happens is when you wet the hair, all this hair lays down and smooth, and you go, oh, I want bangs, and you cut them. Usually bangs are cut at the eyebrow. It's usually good. If you are going to cut wet, hairstylists usually cut at the nose, because they know when it dries, it's going to lift up to the eyebrows typically. Because, I don't know, when it dries, it gets a little shorter, and then also it starts lifting at the root a little bit, and everyone's lifts differently. And it can not only be traumatizing to the person, but especially you guys, like when you care, like not all hairstylists care, but when you're someone who cares, it can be really devastating to you if you did someone's hair a lot shorter than you meant to, and it's hurting them now. Because, yeah, and I'd say bangs and this face area is the most important area to get right, because it's what they see when they look in the mirror. Every time they look in the mirror, like the around the face is the most impacting for you or for the person, that's doing it. And so I'll either just start with that and get it out of the way and get it right and then not touch it, or save it for last, until. Anyways, we're going to talk about that a little bit later too. A few more things you might want to have in your kit are clips. And there's 2 different kinds of clips I have in my kit. Like my professional kit, I make sure I have a series of duckbill clips. These are really nice. Say I'm going to do bangs, but I don't want to touch any of the other hair, These are just like, I'm going to pin all that other hair out of the way so that there's no mistake. I'm not cutting anything but what I'm focused on, so the clips are very important. And I'm going to teach you, there's guides and sectioning and stuff like that. So you're going to want some duckbill clips. In fact, I'll leave some of these out. And I think these are called butterfly clips. Yeah, I think they are, because I guess when they're open, they're like a butterfly. And they have these at any beauty supply. These are the staple for all hairstylists. And these are great for bigger areas, or depending on your hair, you could pull it back, but it's a little bit, this is like a more fine-tuned, like it's going to grab all the hairs, and this is going to grab like chunks of hair, so be like, okay, well, I'm not doing anything at the back of the head, so I'm just going to get that out of the way, and then, okay, actually I'm going to do an asymmetric cut. I want to be sure I'm not touching anything over here, these are your tools. So, and you'll probably want about 4 of these. You probably want 4 of those and 4 of these. Okay. Any questions about the tools? Yeah. Okay, great. So we're going to start with head shape. Head shape has a lot to do with how your haircut's going to turn out. And I think that's something probably a lot of do-it-yourself cutters don't realize, because we got this hair and you can't really see the head. I haven't lived here that long, but why I have such a good reputation among my clients as a hairstylist is because I was lucky with that first job in the advanced training I got, because they really, really got it into my head about how important the head shape was and how to do couture upscale haircuts. All of that really had to do with understanding the head shape. And now you're gonna get that. So I'm sure everyone knows that this is a skull, and this is pretty much our skull. Unless you're Asian and the back of your head's flat. And there's some other cultures. Huh? Are you partially Asian?
Yeah, it must be.
Do you have a flat bit in the back? Okay. Cool. So these are really important things to realize. I guess not everyone will look Asian. So I guess feel someone's head before doing anything to it, because I worked in a Japanese hair salon for 2 years, and that's why I was like, well, Asians have flat heads, because it was the weirdest thing, like it would come up here. Well, there's no skin on him, but if there's skin, it would come up here, and then normally white people heads and most heads go like that. Most heads I'm familiar with go like that. The Asian completely goes like that. So if you cut to the shape of the head, say I just pulled the hair out in every direction to the shape of the head, it looked terrible, So what I had to learn working with Asians is I had to imagine the head was like that and compensate to create the illusion so that the haircut would look good. So I just wanted to do a quick reference of Vidal's soon. And then I'll try drawing something. Okay, so a typical head shape. I've never done this before. Okay. Okay, something like that, right? He looks really weird. Okay. Okay, so I guess his eye would probably be a little further down. But the point is actually the head comes in like that. Everyone has a different hairline, so that's something to like take into consideration. Do they have a widow's peak, or do you have a widow's peak? And what is the hairline looking like? And then to be really familiar with the head. Oh, you know what? He's gonna be perfect. So my sketching. Isn't he cute? He's for sale. He's very handsome. Okay, cool. So here you can see the head shape. Now, the sides, let's see. See how the sides here are flat? It's like, I want you to think of the head in planes. And so basically this is flat and right under here is flat. So what that means is all the hair that's growing, see how it goes flat, then it starts to curve, then it really curves, and then it goes on the other side. Same thing here, it's flat, it actually comes out a little bit at the occipital, it starts to curve, and then it really curves. So all this hair around here is, unless it's curly, is typically growing down, and it's going to move kind of like that. I mean, unless you tease the heck out of it, maybe you can get it to do something else, but for the most part, this hair's range of movement is like this. Once you start getting onto the curve of the head, the hair is growing out like this. I mean, you can still have it fall and have like a straight bob or something like that, but it's got more movement. It's moving. It can move like this. So you get more movement there. And then on the top here, the hair can move kind of anywhere. There's a lot of movement. So this whole round part of the head. So that will probably start making more sense later why it's important to know that, but you get different range of movements on different parts of the head. Which is going to come into play depending on what style you decide that you want to do. So the head shape is something that'll be really important to consider when you're deciding. Okay, well here I think I'm going to show you some hairstyles and some options and what the different looks are. And I've made notes on all of them as to whether they were cut with scissors or whether they were cut with a razor. And all hairstyles can pretty much be broken down like that. I mean, I know you saw like a bunch of other kinds of scissors in here and stuff, and they're fancy and funky looking and stuff. But honestly, I don't even use them that often. It's rare cases. Like the only time I've ever used this was on Arab hair. It was like so thick and we had to cut like 4/5 of it out. Yeah, I mean, this is like dangerous. Yeah, these are like thinning shears and stuff like that. And I don't think you really need to concern yourselves with them. They're not a staple for you to have, and they can be really challenging to use right. And if you are going to get a pair, like you have someone that just has too thick hair and you want to thin the ends, just get a very one that's not going to chop out too much at once. And if you do use these, you probably don't want to use them right as they grow out of the head, because any hair that's cut shorter than this on most people will stick straight out. And especially Asians, like anything shorter than that will stick straight out, like straight out, like a piece of wire. Kind of great. Very unforgiving. Usually these can be nice just for on the ends. Usually I would just, my hair is very thin, but if somebody sort of had thick and usually I would just cut like on the ends, you know, but yeah, so I'm just going to show you some pictures and get you some inspiration, because the next thing that you would do is make a plan and decide what you're going to do. I mean, you could freestyle something, but foundationally, it'd be good for you to have a plan, you know, and then execute the plan. So, oh, here's the planes of the head that I was showing you on the mannequin. They kind of are doing it with these lines. Just try to think in planes, you know, like you're cutting around surface, and it's just something I want you to have in mind. Okay, that's how I was thinking to do this. Okay. So, well, when cutting your own hair, there's a lot of tricks that you can do. Everyone here today has long hair, so you're probably just wanting to trim your ends or something like that. But I'm going to give you a little bit of a broader repertoire, I guess, if you're going to be cutting other people's and stuff like that. So I have things broken down here to show you. I was hoping Jen would come because hers was perfect for showing the shag. But for example, okay, when you're cutting your own hair, I'm going to step away from that for a minute because a little bit more. And you have long hair and you want it generally even in back, what you can do is take your comb and you can section hair just by combing through it, and where the comb stops, you can pull it aside. So it's like a really nice trick. Like, his hair's really nappy. See, but I would just keep combing one side and pulling it, and that's how you're gonna get sections. Yeah, I mean, if his hair's nappy as hell like that, then you're gonna want to pin it as you go. If you are gonna work in sections, you know. Sectioning is really important in the hairstyling world, and that's why it's important to understand the shape of the head. But if your hair is really long, then you're going to want to get an even part all the way back. And you can feel the back, like, does everyone know the occipital bone? Yeah? Yeah, there's like, you can feel like a little sort of divot, like just when your neck comes up. Like, some people have a bone that sticks out. Some people have a little bone that sticks out. It's like right at the center of the back of your skull, you know? So, a big part of doing hair and doing it properly is working from like point A to point B. So if you're just parting your own hair and you can't really see behind you, you can start from like your third eye or between your eyes, and you can see all of that. Then you could hold your finger right on your occipital, then work from there down to the occipital, you know, pin those or clip them. And then you can feel where your vertebrae is at the back, then work from your occipital to your vertebrae. Get a nice even part. You know, this is probably something all of you ladies will be doing. And then brush it and brush it and brush it and brush it and bring it all to the front. And what you want is for it to lay where you can see it. And the thing to remember is, okay, so normally, like if hair's like as short as mine, and I do this, and then I cut it all straight here, when it all goes back, it's going to have kind of a V you know. So if your hair's so long, it's still going to have a slight V. It's not going to be like this. It'll be a slight V, but that's pretty, you know. I don't think it'll even really be that noticeable. But I think this is really the best way for you to do it. And the important thing to remember is your planes, because if you're wanting it straight in the back and you're looking down and you're like, oh, okay, snip, 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 snip. When you lift your head up, you've just cut a layered back because your neck was down. So if you want it looking straight when your head's up, you probably need to do it in the mirror. At least the combing and the brushing and all the point where it's lined up. Then when it's in the fingers, you could lift it up and cut it, you know, like. You can comb, comb, comb while you're looking straight ahead. And if you pinch your fingers tight, you can move this anywhere to cut it, you see? So I think that's really going to be the trick for you to getting that straight. Or you could pinch it like that and then bend your head down. Just make sure no hair's pulled or shifted, you know, or it's not going to be straight how you wanted it to be, you know. And then you're either going to, you know, imagine like you're cutting a line parallel to the ground. You know, oh, okay, that didn't look parallel. You know, keep cutting it till it's parallel. You can just keep it pinched between your fingers until it looks nice, and then you can let it go. If you want more rocker end, oops. See if I can get this guy to stay still. The same thing, I'm going to envision a line. In fact, I can see that line there. Maybe I shouldn't show. Yeah, okay. I'll bring guides in after. So say you want to do the razor. I find the way I like to do the razor is have my thumb be the other side of the razor to help it catch. You know, you don't want to touch that razor, but you can touch the guard. And I can just tear at the bottom. And then you're going to eyeball that line, you know. There's still kind of a line in there, but I got like a feather going into it. So these are like the two different, so can you see like you get two different kinds of looks. It's very severe like that, and then it's kind of like feathery. Oh good, that reminds me. So something else I really want you to get, and it's going to be really helpful, is for you to use guides. And guides is something all good hairstylists use. And what that means is, okay, say I want to cut this bang section. So I'm going to move all this other hair out of the way. If this were actually bangs, I wouldn't do it so hodgepodge. You would, you could make a crescent moon shape with this. You could do a triangle. In fact, I'll try to do it like a triangle for you. So you can comb that and you can actually see the parts. And you can use your eyebrows as references so that it's even on both sides, like if you're wanting to do even bangs. This hair is kind of naughty, so. Okay, you can see like the point of my triangles over here. So that's not going to be perfectly even. So if I want to do even bangs, I want it to line with the nose. This is called sectioning. So if I just want to do bangs and I don't want it touching anything else, You don't have to do a triangle. You can also do like a line across, kind of like an oval shape. That's what I'm going to do on this head because she's got dreadlocks. So guides are going to be really important for you, for your whole hairstyle, even when you're pulling it all forward. And what that means is if we're cutting a section of hair and we know how long we want it, like we want it this long, we don't want it any shorter, that's exactly where we want it. Then I'm going to snip it to the length that I want on one side. Okay, I can pull this piece that I know is part of that matched up with the center of the nose and then cut that exactly the same length. Now I have point A and I have point B, and all I have to do is connect point A to point B. So I'm going to cut this dry. You know, cut from point A to point B. So that's a lot of like what you're going to want to do. Ray's going to change the tape. So.